Frio, and as promised, I'm back with the third episode from Interactive Horror Stories titled Crystal Skull. I don't know what to expect, but it seems like as the stories go on, they get scarier and scarier. Can you believe that last one? I mean, I can't think of anything worse than a dark entity preying on the love of a parent. It was truly a nightmare. If you haven't heard it, you should go back and check out my first 2 episodes of Interactive Horror Stories, which is a free game that's available on Steam. And don't be shy, leave a comment and tell me what you think. Were you as scared as I was? Okay, well, I can't wait to get into this next one, so let's jump right in. Crystal Skull. You are a king who is loved by his people. You have a serious problem, though. Your only child, Juliana, has an incurable disease and she's dying. You hear about a crystal skull which can cure illnesses and let people have visions. It's brought to your palace from the continent of America, but your man warns you that the skull might be cursed. Will the crystal skull bring health to the princess or doom? Being a king is hard. Being a good king is even harder. You know this well as the sole ruler of a European kingdom in the age when America is discovered. It has been 25 years since you ascended the throne. Your subjects are content with your rule. Your country is in peace and the people are wealthy. But there's something wrong with your life. Your daughter, Juliana, is ill. She's only 18 years old and she's got an illness that nobody could cure yet. Princess is dying, and she's your only child and heir to the throne. Every doctor you could find tried to cure her. You've tried almost everything. Almost. You've been informed about a miraculous artifact unearthed in the continent of America. It is a human skull made of crystal. It amazes the scholars because no method is known to carve up such an excellent shape of a skull out of crystal. This skull doesn't belong to the world that you know, but to an ancient civilization that has been lost. But what amazes the scholars is not just the impossible creation. The skull is told to bring miracles to whom it touches with their bare hands. Some people tell that they saw visions from the future. Some tell that they saw how the human race has originated, and some tell that the skull can cure their illnesses, those that couldn't be cured with the medication available to your era. Naturally, you ordered your best men to bring the miraculous skull to the palace. It's midnight now. You're in Juliana's chamber. She's lying in her bed, holding your hand as you sit by her bed. No candles are lit inside. Full moon enlightens the princess's chamber, shining on her long blonde hair and blue eyes. She's too weak. Her skin is pale. She has under eye bags showing her illness. You already suffered the loss of your wife 10 years ago. Now you can't stand seeing your only daughter slowly die. Juliana asks you with a soft voice, "Father, am I going to die?" "I won't allow that," she smiles. "I know, Father. You are a mighty king. I know that you will do your best by your subjects and me." The door of the chamber is knocked on. The servants generally don't disturb the royal family members at night, so it must be something important. "Come in." A brunette boy, one of your servants, gets inside the chamber with politeness. He looks at you and says, "Your Majesty, the artifact has been brought." You have been waiting for this moment for a long time. After you kiss Juliana's forehead and say, "I will come back," she brings your hand to her pale lips and kisses it. Then you leave Juliana alone in her chamber. At the exit of Juliana's chamber, you see Sir William, one of the knights, those who were appointed with the task of bringing the ancient skull. He is a strong man with black hair and a round beard. He wears gloves and holds a bag. "Your Majesty," he kneels before you. Sir William follows you as you walk to your study chamber. The chamber is well lit. lit with silver candelabras. All the furniture is classy. It's a king's study room after all. There is only one chair, and it's for you. You sit on it. Sir William stands by you and slowly pulls the artifact from his bag. You push the books on the study desk to open space for the artifact. Here it is, he says, and gently puts the crystal skull on the study desk. The skull is truly a masterpiece if it is crafted by humans. All the detail of a human skull are imprinted with care on raw crystal. Lights coming from the candles are refracted inside the skull, gaining various colors of a rainbow. It's magnificent, but you sense something sinister, something that doesn't belong to our world. Did you knights touch the skull? Yes, we did touch the skull with our bare hands, and we all had visions. We took glances from our futures. Some of us saw how they will die. Some of us saw our grandchildren, he continues, but maybe we shouldn't have touched the skull. The day we were about to leave, a native man came to us. He looked like the chief of his tribe. He knew little of our language, but he shouted some words that we could understand. Cursed. No touch. So we haven't touched the skull with our bare hands again. I know that our princess needs to find a cure. I also know that we received reliable information about the magical powers of this skull when it comes to incurable diseases. But Your Majesty, I've got a very bad feeling about this skull. I believe that the wise decision is to throw this skull into the sea. I can't let Juliana die. She will touch the skull. The knight sighed. As you wish, Your Majesty, but if you are going to bring the skull to her, I wish you would wear gloves. If my daughter's going to touch it with her bare hands, I can touch it with mine. You ignore the knight. Touch the skull with bare hands and instantly find yourself in a vision. In your vision, you are in the middle of a ritual. There are about 100 naked humans around you, forming a circle whose center is you. They're all prostrating themselves, worshipping you. It's nighttime. The plain area is enlightened with torches and stars. You see a stepped pyramid nearby. It is made of huge stone blocks. You realize that you are the crystal skull. You can't see yourself, but you're completely aware of what you are. These naked people are worshipping you, the crystal skull. Then the vision changes. Now it's not night, it's morning, and it's raining like hell. There's a huge flood. Unclothed, red-skinned humans scream and get drowned because of the disastrous turn, and you, as the skull, drift away. You open your eyes and turn back to who you really are. The good king, Sir William, looks at you. You tell him what you have seen in your vision. Yes, the skull is mysterious. I can't understand it. I hope it doesn't bring harm to you or the princess, Your Majesty, he says. Let me bring the skull to Juliana. You thank Sir William for his services and let him go. You carry the skull to Juliana's chamber. You enter her chamber and see that she hasn't slept yet. She rises up and sits on her bed. She looks at the skull in awe. It looks marvelous and scary, she says. You approach Juliana and let her touch the skull. She holds the skull, rubs her hands around it, and nothing happens. Is something supposed to happen? She asks, and she gives the skull back. Then she continues, let's wait for tomorrow morning. Maybe it shows its effect then. So you decide to leave Juliana alone and let her sleep. The skull will be staying in your study chamber. After this tiring day, you go to your chamber. There are no guards at the door. You just trust everybody in the palace. You are a loved king. The furniture is luxurious in this chamber. You take a glance at your reflection in the mirror. You take pride in how you look. You are a middle-aged man, but you still look as handsome as when you were young. Your looks are an important factor that makes you a charismatic leader, besides being fair and wise. You wear your nightgown and get into your bed. It is a bed for two people, but you haven't slept with anyone since your wife passed away. You have a secret that you keep from everyone. Sometimes you hug the second pillow in your bed as if it was someone you love. You do this since your childhood. Nobody needs to know it. It doesn't take long for you to fall asleep. You wake up in the morning, but something is wrong. You can't move your arms. No, not only arms. You can't move any part of your body. You're paralyzed. paralyzed, and suddenly your body starts to move involuntarily. It stands up without your consent. Your feet bring you to the mirror. You see your face in the mirror. You are terrified, but there is a grin on your face. You're no longer in control of your body. You're merely a bystander of what it does. It brings you to the throne room with confident steps. Soldiers salute you as you enter. It sits on the throne and shouts with your voice, "Bring me my daughter." You watch guards accompany Juliana as she comes into your presence, and it shouts, "I don't want her to suffer anymore. Kill her." Juliana is shocked. "What? Father, please." She's not only surprised, everybody looks at each other with shock. It shouts, "You heard your king. Execute her." You try to shout, but your screams are buried inside the head of the king. Juliana gets on her knees and cries in despair, but it's in vain. Two black masked decapitators come into your presence. One holds the crying blonde girl, the other holds the sword. Oh God, you can't do anything but watch as your precious daughter gets decapitated. Her head falls down and rolls to the throne. The floor gets filled with her blood. Days pass. It continues to control your body. You mourn for your daughter inside the body that once belonged to you. You watch it rule your country with an iron fist. It orders all the churches to be burnt and priests to be hung. Of course your people uprise against the new king. It suppresses the revolt with violence. Anyone who stood against the king gets tortured. Eyes are poked. Skins are frayed. Soon it orders people to worship him as a deity. The God King declares war against other countries, and it doesn't take long for the other countries to form an alliance against the God King. In a fateful battle in your capital, the God King loses his horse. The evil king gets killed while desperately searching for a horse. And this is how your soul finally breaks free to heaven to see your family once again. The end. Wow, it's a dangerous thing to play with curses, and the king was warned, but no one deserves to see their child slaughtered in front of them and to suffer the torture of knowing you gave the order. How traumatic. Well, on that solemn note, I will leave you for today, and I thank you so much, dear listeners, for visiting me on my channel today. Thank you for letting me read you this scary story, and please join me again for next time when I read Evil Beneath the Ground on Interactive Horror Stories. And please consider tapping that like button and giving me a subscribe so we can keep reading these stories together. Good night.